All right, let's get into the debate. Thank you very much for staying with us. It is another serving of the debate on the Premier League preview show. So the last few weeks, we've been camping at Old Trafford. We are done camping there. There's no more news. Let's get to Stamford Bridge. Yeah, the people who are enjoying, salivating, and getting ready to unleash the Moroccan boy wonder, Hakim Ziyech, on all of us from next season. So today the question is, what kind of impact will Hakim Ziyech have on Chelsea? What kind of impact will Hakim Ziyech have on Chelsea? Remember, if you are hiding under a rock and you don't know, a few days ago, 2 days ago, even yesterday, Chelsea announced they had reached a deal with Ajax for the signature of Hakim Ziyech. He's joining them on the 1st of July. The deal is subject to clearance, medical, personal terms. Those are just really nothing. I'm sure they've sorted all of those things out. So he's becoming Chelsea's latest acquisition and Frank Lampard's first signing since he joined the team. First proper signing since he joined the team. He couldn't buy anybody in January, no worry. He will buy a brand new team when the main transfer window opens. Let me start off with you. You and I have been chit-chatting about this signing. What kind of impact is Ziyech going to have on this team? Silky winger, fantastic left foot, great brain. Chelsea have seen him play up close and personal. So what is he adding to this team?
The Wizard of Oz. They call it the magician. I think Chelsea have, first of all, it was an absolute bargain that Chelsea got him for the amount of money they got him for. Something in the region of 33 million pounds.
33 rising to 36 million pounds.
That is ridiculously cheap for the quality of player that he is, Hakim. Trained in the Dutch system.
And just, those are his numbers. So, 2016, 2017, he's played a number of games, 42, 39, 49, and 30. 21 goals, those were the most productive years. That was last season, with 24 assists. So he was involved in 45 goals. And you watch his numbers, you can tell that he's not shy. He's averaging about 30 goals and assists together, or he's getting involved in about 30 goals together for Ajax. And he's been doing that for the last 4 or so seasons. Those numbers will rise in the 2019-20 season because he's not joining immediately. He's joining after the season ends. So he'll add up to those numbers. By the time he shows up, he'll have more numbers to his credit.
I mean, that's ridiculous, right? 30 matches, 21 assists. Like, it's crazy how good that is. Player, It means that is what? That is almost an assist every game. It's ridiculous. I mean, and trust me, I think that he, and the numbers will tell you that he's been consistent. Trained, I came through the Dutch system from Herenveen to FC20 to Ajax. So he's very well educated in the Dutch football philosophy. So he was born in Holland. So he's a proper Dutch boy. So all those concerns that people have because of the perception that he's an African player and there's blah, blah, no.
He does play for Morocco.
He does play for Morocco, but he grew up, he was born and he grew up in the Netherlands. And I think that his qualities will endear him to the Chelsea fraternity. And for the team itself, I think Chelsea's team badly needs a player, a left-footed right attacker. I don't think that since Ian Robin left Chelsea, they've had a proper left-footed winger in this particular team. And sometimes those inverted wingers are the people you need to provide a different dimension to the team. Chelsea have not had that. All of this time, the only other left-footed winger they've signed was Florent Malouda. And Malouda didn't turn out to be a winger after all. He's a more different, more dynamic kind of player other than just a winger. This guy is a typical winger with speed, with skill.
And viewers, there you have Hakim Ziyech scoring there.
And I think one of the things I really like about him, and it's one of his underrated features, is qualities, is his passing. He is very, very good passer of the ball.
You can't get 21 goals if your passing is lousy.
Exactly. He's not afraid to shoot from inside the box, outside the box. And you can see, for most parts of this season, especially under Frank Lampard, there are situations where you see Chelsea pass the ball an unnecessary amount of time in the box, nobody willing to take a shot. That's what he brings in. And I think that That is a quality that will give Chelsea a lot of goals when he comes in. In my opinion, I think he's coming straight into the starting 11 in this Chelsea team. And whoever plays that right wing this season, whether it's being Willian or whether it's being Hudson or
Willian's name got mentioned there.
Yeah, those are the players who have played at Chelsea's right wing. It's either being, because Pulisic, in my opinion, is also not a right winger. He probably thrives as a left winger. And if Pulisic is going to be starting matches, in games where Pulisic has thrived this season, where he scored hat-tricks, he's played on the left side of attack. So Ziyech comes in, he comes straight into the right-hand side of attack. And I think that is going to be a very fearsome attack that Chelsea is building. Of course, Willian is old. He's discussing a contract extension. They want to give him 2 years, he wants 3 years. I don't think a player of his age should be given 3-year contract.
Chelsea are even thinking of
it's
two,
even very generous. It's very generous. It's actually very generous that Chelsea are offering him a 2-year contract. So that is a matter that is up for discussion. Pedro is going to be gone. Willian most likely may stay or may not stay because he runs out of contract at the end of the season. If he doesn't find an agreement with Chelsea, he leaves. So Chelsea are going to be left with how many wingers now? They're going to have Ziyech, they're going to have Hudson-Odoi, and they're going to have Pulisic. And if you have these three players, and of course, maybe they'll have Sancho at some point. if you have these three players, and I think the most experienced one in that lot will be Hakim Ziyech. So he walks into this team and he improves the team almost immediately. So I think that he's bringing different dimension, different creativity. He's bringing shooting, he's bringing goals, he's bringing assists, and he's bringing an all-round excitement to this Chelsea team that they haven't had in a very, very long time. I would dare say that he is probably the most exciting winger Chelsea has signed since Eden Hazard.
Wow, interesting. Huge words there. What would you say to people who say that he's playing in the Dutch league? I mean, all those numbers don't mean anything. It's the Dutch league.
Well, he played in a Dutch team that got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. I think that's all that needs to be said about that. Dutch teams do sometimes provide really quality players, and Ziyech
that's on a continental level. Yeah. I mean, he has to face the dynamics of the Premier League.
We'll all talk
the same
about
thing Robin did. Yeah. Excelled and left.
He excelled. A number of players have come to the Premier League from the Dutch league and have excelled. You look at Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez came in and he was fantastic. I feel that is not an argument that should be made. I completely agree with Fencio when he says that Ziyech walks right into this Chelsea team. He undoubtedly has quality that this Chelsea team lacks. You talk about the shooting, which is pretty important. A lot of times, Chelsea have passed the ball around and no one has been willing to shoot.
Happening? Is it manager's fault?
It's the players who do not believe in their quality to shoot.
It's not only Chelsea. Look, I can mention a number of top 6 teams, with the exception of, say, Man City and Liverpool. All the other teams are fascinated by trying to walk the ball into the net.
The difference between those other teams and Chelsea is that they do it by choice. A lot of those teams are built on that philosophy of passing the ball around, creating the perfect opportunity to score. For Chelsea, they have so many opportunities to shoot from outside the box, and they end up taking another pass.
I mean, you don't need to go far. The coach is Frank Lampard. Who takes shots from outside the box than him? So he's certainly not coming from him.
Ridiculous ranges. So I think that he improves Chelsea on that aspect. One other key aspect is corner kicks, set pieces, deliveries. Yeah. Hakim Ziyech is fantastic deliverer of these balls from these positions. And I think Chelsea have been criticised a lot this season for not making the most of corner kicks and free kicks from wide areas. And I think he improves Chelsea dramatically on that level. But is he going to make a huge impact on this Chelsea team? Is he going to turn this Chelsea team into Premier League contenders? Not alone. He's not going to do that alone. Chelsea certainly need a couple more signings
in which area?
In key areas. Probably
they need
another attacker to support Tammy Abraham, or to give him competition, and probably someone in defence, whether it's a goalkeeper, a centre back, or maybe a left back, because Chelsea do need strengthening in those positions. Ziyech has shown that when it comes to the really huge games where he is expected to be the star man, he often falls flat. You look at the AFCON 2019.
With Morocco,
Ziyech was supposed to be the one who would drag Morocco all the way to the trophy, probably final, semi-final. He was terrible in the group stages of that tournament. He missed a crucial penalty when Morocco had the chance to go through against Benin, and he wasn't himself.
Even in the Champions League, a lot of people accuse him of letting down Ajax.
In the Champions League, he did let down Ajax, especially in that final game. I think it was against Valencia. He lost the ball so many times. It appears that when things start going wrong for him, his confidence just sinks. And you can't afford that at a club like Chelsea. You need to keep that level of performance really, really high. And I'm sure that if he comes in, if Chelsea bring in a couple more key signings, Sancho, for example, to bolster that front line. I feel that he will thrive in this Chelsea team, thrive in the Premier League.
I mean, the problem with the problem that he solved, in my opinion, is that when you look at the Chelsea team right now, let's take in the last 10 years, in this Chelsea team, how many of their wingers, apart from Eden Hazard, has been able to contribute more than 10 goals in a season?
Fair point.
None. This guy,
but
if history is anything to go by,
I think that, you see, sometimes when players emerge inadvertently, they tend to, through no fault of theirs, possibly take on a bit more responsibility. Some people just enjoy carrying the team along. So after a few months, everybody psychologically shuts down and says that give the ball to that guy and let him do what he wants to do, because the player wants to do it anyway.
Yeah, and I think for the first time, once Ziyech comes in, that's not going to be the situation. Because I'm looking at that Chelsea front three, whoever plays there, whether it's Pulisic. These are all guys that will take responsibility. Pulisic, for example.
But on a tactical level, I mean, I think that Lampard will still have a lot to do trying to figure out everybody's role.
It's easy.
Because we've seen, look,
especially Ziyech's role.
We've seen Ziyech play, and we know how fluid he is. And so wouldn't it be a little bit of a worry should he get shoehorned into a position and you tell him, play here and stay there, whereas he wants to probably express himself, especially with Pulisic, who also loves to feel flexible.
Which is a great thing, because then they can swap positions as the game goes on. So I think that flexibility, especially for forward players, there has to be that fluidity between all three of them. Movement in and out of the box, striker getting out, shadow running from a midfielder. All those things will happen. I think, of course, Frank Lampard is too smart to want to restrict a player to one particular area of the pitch. It's just not, even Hudson-Odoi, he doesn't, you've not seen him in matches where he's only stayed in one, in one side of the pitch the whole time. So I think that wouldn't be a problem at all. But I think I agree with Edwin 100% that Ziyech coming in may be great, but he doesn't have the capacity that you mentioned of carrying a burden throughout. He doesn't. It's not even. There were times even when it was too much for even a player like Eden Hazard. So a lot of other players will need to contribute, and I think that Chelsea will need a few more signings in order to really turn them into Premier League title contenders. They need a striker, they need another defender, and they need. I don't think Chelsea needs a goalkeeper. As much as I think that Kepa it's having a really bad season. You feel that he will overcome that because there are factors, there are reasons behind this. Yes, I think that his situation is all about coaching. And I think that if Kepa can get quality coaching, he will be better. I think Chelsea just need to replace Willy Caballero, because at the end of the season, his contract is out. Chelsea need a goalkeeper that is much younger than Caballero, that will keep Kepa on his toes, because Caballero, in my opinion, only seems to be very much interested in just taking a paycheck. He's just there. He doesn't care anymore. And that's why when you bring him into games, he seems to be all of a sudden completely lost. And we saw him against Leicester in situations where he's going for the ball at the corner flag. And you're wondering, where are you going? I think a much younger goalkeeper, not exactly the age of, it doesn't have to be the age of Kepa, but a much younger goalkeeper that will take this thing much more serious than it is right now is what Chelsea needs. And a left back and a striker, and Chelsea will win the league next season. Okay, all right. I don't know if you have any concluding thoughts. Some messages are here.
Ziyech comes in not with Pogba level money, but he comes in with Pogba level expectations, especially from Chelsea fans, given how they've struggled to find a player who fits into that Hazard role. The player who can go past players, who can shoot, who can assist, who can provide players with other options. And I think that he needs to come in, and it's great that Chelsea missed him in January. It gives Frank Lampard a lot more time to study him, study how he fits, how he plays, how he fits into his team going forward for next season.
Okay, we'll see. Hakim Ziyech joining Chelsea on the 1st of July. Reminds me of when Chelsea signed Bosingwa. They also signed him in a similar deal, played last 6 months for Porto, and then came to join Chelsea. Let me